am going to introduce myself first. Hi, my name is Cherie. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this channel, I talk about living life abundantly by strengthening your relationship with Jesus Christ. We do a lot of inner work on this channel, so if that sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Okay, let's get to the video. Timer on. Okay. The title of this video is going to be called Confidence in God, and I'm going to be coming from Psalms 77 and 78. So I read from the Tony Evans Study Bible, so that's the one that I'm doing right now. And in Psalm 77, my pens! All right, in chapter 77, the title is Confidence in a Time of Crisis. In chapter 77, I'm just going to go through this really quick because the meat is kind of in chapter 78, but it does say confidence in a time of crisis, and it talks about in the first 3 verses how if you have a broken heart, you should worship the Lord. And verse 4 to 6, if you can't sleep, it says sing praises to the Lord. And in verses 7 to 9, it says if you question God's goodness, reflect on him. And so I think this is kind of like these are good attributes to have confidence when you are in a time of crisis. Worshiping him, singing praises, reflect. When you worship him first, worshiping him and praising him, it takes everything off of you and puts everything on God. So, and when you and also when you're reflecting, it's kind of all 3 in 1. You take everything off of you, you're looking at God, you're remembering who God is, remembering what he can do, and you're thanking him for that, and you're expressing gratitude. And I feel like when counselors, they talk about, writing gratitude lists, but the Lord, that was literally from the Lord, because he literally tells us to give things. So writing down things that you're thankful for that comes from the Lord, it really does help switch your mindset and switch your confidence to him. But what actually helped me the most was reading chapter 78. So chapter 78 is called A Lesson from Israel's Past. And if you ever want to just sum up everything that the Israelites went through, you can read this chapter. It does that very well, and it's 72 verses. So it's pretty long, but it's pretty concise compared to everything that's said in Genesis and Exodus and Leviticus, Deuteronomy. So let me see what verse. So I'm skipping down to verses 13 to 15 because this is kind of repeated throughout the chapter. It says, he split the sea and brought them across. The water stood firm like a wall. He led them with a cloud by day and with a fiery light throughout the night. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink as abundant as the depths. He brought streams out of the stone and made water flow down like rivers. So he protected the Israelites, he guided for the Israelites, and he provided for the Israelites multiple times on multiple occasions. Verse 17 says, but they continued to sin. And this is what's repeated over and over. God protects them, he guides them, he provides for them. They continue to sin. He protects them, he guides them, he provides for them. They continue to sin. And this is literally their history. This is literally their summary. This is literally this chapter. And when I was reading this, it's funny, and it's really interesting because I'm reading this and I'm reading all of this stuff at one time, and I'm sitting there, I'm shaking my head like, Israelites. And then the Lord kind of had to get on me a little bit because he's like, Cherie, because so this is where things get, this is where things, I do feel vulnerable talking about this, and I feel like this is kind of maybe the reason why I had to record this so many different times. So I actually had made my own little chapter, Psalm 78.2.0, lessons from Cherie's past, because one thing that I realized, and this is only specifically to my career, nothing else in my life, specifically to my career, just seeing the Lord's hand in it, and me still not being satisfied from it. And the very first thing I remember years and years ago when before I was a kindergarten teacher, I remember that I wanted to be the lead kindergarten teacher and I didn't get it. And it was given to someone who actually didn't really want it. She actually wanted to do what I was going to be like not forced to do, but what I was going to do, and I didn't want to do that. So it should have been switched and we both would have been happy, but they didn't. They ended up not doing that, and I was very disappointed at God. I was disappointed in God because I remember praying for it and really believing that I was going to get it. And when it didn't happen, I was disappointed. And it's just like, first of all, if he doesn't give it to me, like, who am I to tell him what to do? But then he ended up giving it to me, and I ended up getting it like late into the summer. And I remember that summer I was so angry at him. I spent that summer out of fellowship. I was really immature, and and I felt so stupid at the end of that summer when I realized that I got it. And I feel like things like that has continued to happen. Well, not me being out of fellowship. I feel like I've really learned my lesson with being out of fellowship with him. I'd never say never, but I don't like, and I told myself I'm not going to be angry at him and like stop talking to him, because that's literally the worst thing I can do. So if I am angry, if I'm feeling some type of way, you know, I'll vent and I'll get it out, and then I'll check myself, because he still is God. He is on the throne, and I literally just got here. So, and he's been here forever. So, you know, just looking at, you know, my career, and I feel like things like that like continue to happen. Like I would ask for this, and then I would get this, and then I would ask for that, and then I would get that, and I'd be like, oh, but I want this change, and then that change will happen. And I literally didn't even realize it until I read this chapter, whenever I read it, like a month ago or whenever. And I really started to see like, wow, like the Lord has been protecting me, guiding me, and providing for me, but I continued to sin. And the way that I was continuing to sin is that I was not worshiping him, I was not praising him, and I was not reflecting. I was just asking for more and more and more, instead of looking to see that he is actually doing everything that actually I desired, and I didn't even realize it. And the thing is, he doesn't always do that, and he doesn't even have to. But especially the fact that he was, and I was still unsatisfied, I was still ungrateful. Like, I'm just shaking my head at myself now instead of shaking my head at the Israelites. But so the way that we can have confidence in God is literally these three things. We need to worship him, we need to praise him, and we need to reflect. And we have to see his goodness, and we have to know and realize and understand we're literally living in an answered prayer. Every second of the day you are living in an answered prayer. Even when, like, I don't think I mentioned this on my channel months ago, when my car was stolen, and I had, and they got in an accident, so it was wrecked, and it was just like, it was really stressful, and it was more than 30 days. So then my insurance stopped paying for stuff, and I was just stopped paying for the rental, and I was like all over. And I remember like just praying, and even when I'm like, I can't find anything to pray for, I'm like, well, I got my car back. Nobody stole my car. I'm not paying for no rental out of pocket. So like, even just small things like that, I feel like I'm always living in an answered prayer, and there's no reason for me to not have confidence in him. The reason why, because we literally just got here. Literally, our life is like a vapor, and he holds everything in his hands. So who are we? Who am I to, first of all, demand anything from him? Who am I to, you know, who am I to not give him what is due to him? Who am I to feel like things should revolve around me and not revolve around him? So again, the way you put your confidence in God, think about it. What's the answer? What's the first thing you do? Worship, praise, reflect. Let me show you the math way. That's the math way. Worship, praise, reflect. My timer's going off. That means it was 10 minutes. This is how you have confidence in the Lord. Make sure you worship, praise, and reflect. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below. Remember, I love you, I'm here for you, and I'm praying for you. Bye.